I dug this old Palomar Skipper 300 for another project I was going to make a video on coming soon, and I had it hooked up to the mud duck radio and hooked it up. Got it going to the antenna, not the dummy though. It looks like I got receive. You know, see that noise level? You know, 4-pound noise level. Since Detroit went with LEDs, you know, I've got a constant 4 to 7-pound noise level. But anyway, I went to key it down and it wasn't keying up. And I get a lot of questions about people like, you know, what's the amp doing with this? And what about this? You know, there is a reason and a logic if you know a little bit of something about amps, you know, and tracing it. And I always ask people, what is your input SWR? And the input SWR is the SWR, again, in between the radio and the amp. So I got this digital watt meter and digital SWR meter auto calibrating in line right after the radio. There's a little jumper going into the little digital watt meter, and then that goes into the amp, and then the amp goes out to one of my giant watt meters. And it wasn't keying up, and I'm like, doggone it, you know, I thought everything was working. I'm here to receive, you know, when I was playing with this amp last time. I don't know when. I think I've made a video on this amp, the hardwired Skipper 300 with the toroid transformer. But anyway, I keyed it down, and my input SWR is affinity. Can't be measured. No change. It's that high. That is, you know, sucking out all the watts, and the SWR is so high, I key it down that it can't even measure it, right? So something's wrong on the input side of this. And also no watts out, you know, at all. Let's go to the 200 watt scale. I know I'm on that meter. And 0. So somewhere there's a break in the line between this thing, and since it's not keying up, and I know it worked before, it's probably a break or an open or a short somewhere between the you know, the output of that watt meter and somewhere between the input of this amp. And usually that's the input line here. And I was playing with it, and one of the things I found is, look at this jumper here. Doggone cheap Chinese jumpers. Look at that. And that's with it all the way screwed down. You know, all that play and slop, and it doesn't tighten down. And come to find out, that was my problem. So hopefully, even with that bad jumper in line, I can get watts now just to do the video. Nope, still not getting the watts. Come on, baby, come on. Let me screw with that thing a couple more times. Come on. Oh, there we go. I must have the amp on. Silly me. So anyway, now that we got that at least connected, there's my input SWR 1.4, and that's 200 scale, watt scale. I guess I left this thing on. I didn't mean to do that, you know. 200 watts out of the little skipper. Let's go to the 2000. I know it's not doing much more than 200 with 3 watts in it. And it came about 225. Swinging low under 3 RMS. I don't think it does much more peak. Audio, well, about 350 peak. About what it's supposed to do out of this little one driving 3. But anyway, I didn't really plan on making a video about that. Again, input SWRs and jumpers. No, if it's not keying at all, not doing anything, and the input SWR is super high, you probably got a bad jumper on the input side. If you got it on the output side, the amp would probably key, but the amp wouldn't be making any watts going out. In a lot of cases, you wouldn't have any feed through watts either, where you get watts coming out of the radio with the amp off going out to the watt meter if you got a bad jumper on the output side. But also on the output side, the jumper may be connected enough so that you can do your 4 watts from the radio. But you know, if you're getting, you know, 2, 3, 500 to 1,000, you know, out of the amp, the connection isn't solid enough to run the power through the coax through the amp. Through the coax, you know, from the amp. And the SWR jump up real high on the output side. And I think I made a video on that. The number one output, the number one killer of amps is those jumpers on the output side. If what happened on the input happened on the output, and you weren't paying attention and kept on keying down, it would blow the tubes in the amp, or more possibly. So anyway, another example of check your jumpers, check your SO239 connections. Number one amp killer is that. It got me today for a minute, but at least it was on the input side. And then when I got a problem, I don't keep keying it up and messing around. I turn it all off and try to figure out what's going on. Anyway, that's it for this one. Bye.